just go straight into it. What have you thought about the season so far? You guys have obviously played really well. So just talk a little bit about how you guys have got off to such a great start.
Yeah, no, so far so good for sure. I think our guys have done a great job of, first thing being able to be COVID free. I think you see across the country, teams having to be put on pause, and that obviously takes you back a little bit when you can't practice and you miss games. So our guys have done a really good job of, handling business off the court and being able to allow us to continue to practice and play. And then, they've grown. We had a couple guys that had new spots in our first 4 games and kind of new roles, and we're able to be close to full strength right now. Got everybody close to back for the Cincinnati game last weekend. And so now it's just continuing to do our system and get comfortable with things and push forward.
How has the team just overall adjusted to playing in such a strange time? I've talked to a lot of coaches on this show, just how their players and just the staff has adjusted. How's that been like for you?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Our guys honestly have been pretty good. I think we all have learned the hardest thing, or well, not the hardest, but one of the things that I guess is more difficult is winning and playing at home. I think, we've had a couple of close games, and there really is no pressure when you're on the road. We experienced that last weekend. Like normally, if you're on the road and the home team goes on a run or strings a couple together, you get the crowd involved, you get the fans involved. It can become a different type of environment. You feel it. Whereas now, team goes on a run, or if you let a team, if you have a lead and you let a team back in it, there's really not that extra boost of just juice in the building that can kind of all of a sudden now it's like, dang, that lead went from 2 to 10 really quick. And so that's been, I guess, the part for our guys is talking about you got to kind of create your own energy. You can't rely on, the crowd to help you, the crowd to get you through runs or get you into a run. You've got to kind of really create your own juice and energy. And then, conversely, when you go on the road, if you're mentally tough and you just continue to do what you do and do what we do, you'll hopefully be able to be in games.
Yeah. And one of the things I was going to ask you that you already kind of hinted on a little bit was the Xavier-Cincinnati rivalry. Everyone knows about it and just how huge of a deal that is, especially in the Ohio area. In a situation like that, when you're so used to either playing in front of your home crowd that will extra amp game, or playing on the road where you have to really have your guys settle in. What is that like playing in an empty arena where you have to create your own energy in a way?
Yeah. No, it's definitely different. I guess the one benefit about the UC rivalry is our guys respect it. And so they know regardless, there could be one person, there could be 12,000, we're going to have the same intensity. We're going to have the same respect for the opponent and the same will to win. And they showed that. So that was a positive. But, from here going forward, it is something that we definitely talk about because I think you can steal some on the road. And at the same time, you got to know when you're at home, that the advantage that we rely on with our unbelievable crowd and atmosphere, it's not going to be there. And so we've got to create that ourselves, and we got to stay locked in ourselves and not rely on a fallback. You can't rely on the crowd. You can't rely on home court advantage. And it just means you got to be a little bit tighter and a little bit crisper and a little bit more mature.
And just with your team getting off to this hot start and I believe leading the nation right now in wins, you guys have stacked a lot of games early. Just if you're able to speak a little bit on how this schedule came into place. I know every team has been scrambling for games, whether it's just the day of or weeks leading up. What has that schedule process been like for your staff?
Yeah, our staff did a great job. Obviously, Coach Steele and his vision and Mario, who handles a lot of our scheduling, did an unbelievable job. We were actually scheduled to play in Orlando in the tournament there, and when we kind of got wind that it could be a no-go, or if it was a go, it could have some issues, we ended up getting out of that right away. And then what that allowed us to do was kind of create our own MTE at home. And we're able to invite Oakland, Bradley, and Toledo and do our own event here, which really helped. And I think, those tournaments are big because you get, like, we got 3 games in 3 days. And so you shrink the chances with breaks of somebody getting something, whether that's your team or another team. And so you're able to get those 3 games in. So that was huge. I mean, that's obviously half our games so far. But then also being able to have, a 1-day prep to a game, or at max 2-day prep and then a game, you're able to slide all these games in. And so I think that's what everybody is really trying to do. And that's the hardest thing. And then when you get thrown the wrinkle of a team testing positive and not being able to compete, it's that scramble of, okay, how do you get a team on short notice to travel, to do the proper protocol, and to get cleared, and to have an open date and time and all that. So it can be a headache. Knock on wood, we haven't been able or haven't had to experience it yet, but you never know down the line.
Yeah. What would you say, just with all the things that you mentioned there, what would you say is probably the biggest adjustment that you as a staff have had to make just to compete in a season like this where things are just so unique and strange?
Yeah, I think a big adjustment is you got to have guys that probably know offensively multiple positions, because you don't know, if a guy gets put on pause, or, whether that's contact tracing, or if a student athlete ends up getting it, the length of time they could be out. It does mess with your rotations. It can mess with, game plan, offense, defense. So just constantly making sure, you're versatile. So if you lose a guy here or you lose a couple guys there, you're still able to compete and not have to totally revamp what you're doing offensively and obviously defensively. So just constantly reviewing, keeping things simple, but then also knowing, you can have to pivot at any moment. And so it's just being prepared and try to, think forward and maybe anticipate problems or situations, so that if it does happen, you've got a really good game plan for it.
Yeah, and with your team, I mean, a lot of guys who can play multiple positions. One of the players who I've had my eye on for a little while now is Zach Fremantle, and he's been off to a really good start for you guys. Maybe just talk a little bit about him and his development over this offseason or after year one, and kind of what you anticipate for him as the season progresses.
Yeah, well, Zach's been great. Zach had a really good freshman year, and our hopes were, and I know his were to come back and have a really good sophomore year. And I think he's been off to a good start. Nobody puts in more time working on his game than Zach does. He's expanded. He can now score inside. He can hit the mid range, kind of that in between two, and he can step out and be a pick and pop big. So that's been huge for us, especially offensively, when you got a guy that can score at all 3 levels, especially stretch it from 3. But he's a worker. And like I said, all credit goes to him. The guy puts in the time and the reps and consistently, and he truly loves to play. So hates when he comes out in practice and misses a rep, wants to compete every day. And so we're fortunate to have him. And like I said, I think he's off to a great start and a really bright future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, with Paul being there too, he's really showed up early and often the last few years for you guys. What would you say overall is kind of the team's identity? I know a lot of coaches like to talk about that subject, whether it's on the defensive end or scoring the basketball. What would you say is Xavier's identity this year and what you guys do best?
Yeah, I think right now, a Xavier staple has always been defense. We're gonna start on that end of the floor, and that just comes with having grit, having toughness. This year, I think we have added the component of being able to shoot the ball from multiple spots. So, hopefully we'll be able to show that as the year goes on. But having the versatility and the skill to shoot at all 5 spots, I think for us will be big. And then our depth. This is the deepest team that we've had since we've been here in our 3 years. So being able to use that depth, that scoring off the bench, and not having drop-offs at any spot, I think will be big. And hopefully as the year progresses, be able to wear teams down and to get into their bench and be able to continue to score points.
And to that point, is there something in particular that you hope to see that maybe you haven't out of the team in the early going that you hope to see as the season progresses a little bit?
I think as a coach, you just want to continue to see, continuity and growth and being able to really gel. I mean, it's still early in the season and we still have new guys, whether that's grad transfers or freshmen. that haven't had a ton of game or minutes under their belt. So I think it's continuing just to take baby steps every day to grow and to gel and to get comfortable in our system and to get comfortable with how we want to play as a program. And then obviously the chemistry piece, continue to grow with our chemistry piece. It doesn't matter who starts games, who plays in games, who gets X amount of minutes, X amount of shots. When you got a team that's got pretty good depth, chemistry piece is definitely huge, and guys pulling for each other and wanting what's good for the overall program.
And one of the other points before I'll have Brian hop on here, you did mention transfers on that, and that's such a huge thing that we've discussed on this show with a lot of these programs bringing in transfers. This universal transfer waiver, which has been the topic for quite some time, with a lot of these guys who are waiting to hear back on waivers. I know you have 2 players waiting in the wings right now. Is there anything in particular that stands out to you about just the transfer waiver entry in college basketball, and whether that's going to be a big thing moving forward for this program?
Yeah, no, thankfully we actually got surprisingly one of our transfers eligible that played on Saturday, or played this past weekend. Got him eligible the day before the game. So we're waiting on one right now, and just kind of staying with it, and hopefully it pushes through. But I definitely think that the transfer market is going to be something that obviously opens up. I think there's talk that it's going to for sure open up in the spring with the one-time transfer policy. So I think you'll see definitely some movement in that area, because what it does is allows teams to stay old. It allows teams to get guys that have kind of been proven commodities at whatever level they played at. And every team loses guys, so it's a way to, if you lose a guy, to rebound quickly, because it's hard. I mean, if you're continually losing guys, and it's like a revolving door. I love freshmen as much as the next guy, and we built our program off freshmen. But if you're continuing having to replace a junior and a senior for a freshman, it's tough. Especially as you go up and you're competing against the best of the best. If you're even trying to, get to that upper half of any league, it's always helps to stay old and kind of keep that continuity going of older grown bodies.
Talk about a little bit. You talk about transfers, and you talk about you guys kind of went unconventional a little bit with one particular guy on your roster that transferred from a lower level. Talk a little bit about that. He's had some early success. A lot of guys may not have even valued it. He didn't necessarily even win where he came from. So what kind of goes into that evaluation process, Coach, if you don't mind speaking on when you're evaluating a transfer? How do you decide if it's a fit? Are his numbers legitimate to translate to this level and to this league? How do you kind of determine that? And then talk a little bit about that particular transfer from the lower level on your team now.
Yeah, definitely. With BG, with Brian, that we got from Division II, Coach Steele's he's really active on that portal. So when we see a name pop up, we all kind of dive in and check it out. And Brian was a guy that I think we got a little heads up on once he was in the portal. And we all just watched some film, and I think what we saw was he's a big, that's long. He's got true size at 6'8". He's got a good build to him, so he's physically strong, and he just runs and moves really easy. So, when we watched the film and broke it down, we thought it's hard to miss on a guy that moves like that, that's built like that, that's an athlete like that. And he's got a pretty good touch. You notice that on film. He can shoot out to about 15, 17 feet. And so, credit goes to Brian. He got here and he has been a sponge. I mean, he has tried to learn and grow every day. Hard worker. And what we feel like is we get the right type of guys with a mentality like that, a guy that's willing to buy his time. This is a D2 guy that averaged low 20s. And so he could have gone to a bunch of places and probably had, especially early, maybe a little bit bigger role, but this is a guy that wanted to be here. And, we're a staff that believes if you got guys that want to be in that locker room, that's half the battle. And, BG is just, like I said, continued to believe in himself, to trust the cliche, to trust the process. And it's paid off. Every day in practice, he's gotten better, and then it's transferred into games. And, he had a huge game at UC in 11 minutes, had 6 points, 5 rebounds, and a big time block. So we expect big things from BG from here on out. And, I expect he's going to have a really successful season and really help us.
Yeah, for sure. Talk a little bit about the Big East, Coach. So you've coached, you played Big Ten yourself. For those that don't know, I've known Ben for a long time. He played college ball with my brother at Northwestern, then transferred to Minnesota, had a lot of success there. You went back as a coach at Minnesota. You've actually kind of climbed the ranks at all levels. You were in Texas at UT and before it was UTRGV. You paid your dues, which a lot of high-level players don't always necessarily do. So you've paid your dues. You've seen a lot of different leagues. You've recruited a lot of different players. What makes the Big East so unique, and how do you think for yourself, two-part question, you've been able to kind of navigate this college basketball profession and having so many successful seasons? I didn't even mention Northern Iowa. You were part of coaching and making an NCAA tournament run there. Ali Farouk-Manesh is a friend of the show. He's been on before. Of course, he made the shot. You were one of the coaches on the staff. So you've had a tremendous amount of success in your career. You're 6-0 there as an assistant on the brink of becoming a head coach. So talk a little bit about your own journey and then also just kind of fit in the Big East and what makes that league so good.
Yeah, I'll probably tackle that second part first. I've been lucky. I'll be honest. I've been fortunate. I try to tell guys all the time. It's and as you guys know, it's hard. It's hard to get in, and then it can be hard to grow and to move up. And so you gotta be lucky. You gotta catch a couple breaks. You gotta have somebody's got to believe in you and kind of throw you a bone. That happened to me. Obviously, I had a little bit of an advantage because I played. There was familiarity with different guys that either recruited me or played against me during my career. So I kind of had a little bit of a foot in the door. But, my first job at what was UTPA, I got with Tom Schubert, who I didn't know and he didn't know me. And we met at a Final Four for probably like 2 hours. And I think because the job didn't pay anything and I was willing to move on a dime and do whatever I had to do, I got the job. But was like I said, was fortunate. I mean, there was a guy that I had no recruiting experience. I was coming off as a GA at Dayton. Had never officially coached a day in my life, but he believed in me, trusted me, gave me a shot, gave me an opportunity, and it's kind of been every step along the way. And I just tell guys, you just gotta try to push as much as you can, network as much as you can. I wish there was a cookie cutter way to do it, but I think everybody's journey is different. And like I said, I've just been fortunate and blessed that, mine has worked out, and I've been able to work with some unbelievable coaches at some unbelievable schools. And this one, being in the Big East is definitely different. I grew up as a Big Ten guy, obviously, grew up in Minneapolis, so I watched it, played in it, coached it in at two different schools. The Big East to me is just more open. It's more up and down. It's a guards league. It's a little bit smaller in terms of, your traditional bigs. The fours here, quote unquote, are really, a lot of them are perimeter fours, stretch fours, kind of those hybrid fours that can dribble, pass, and shoot and are really guards. So it really kind of opens the floor. You got a lot of teams that are, high power offense, like, Villanova can make a bunch of threes, plays fast, scores it. Creighton plays fast, scores it. You go on down the line. We try to play fast, score it, play a little bit smaller lineup, which is fun. It's fun to coach. It's fun to recruit. It's fun to play in. And then I think the tradition of the league, with us adding UConn, it's like, you got brands in the Big East. And obviously you got the East Coast market. You got Madison Square Garden, where we have the Big East tournament, where there's been historic Big East tournament games. But I just think the brand is hot right now. And it's actually, for me, been really cool to see the difference of this style of basketball. And I really enjoy it and love it and glad I'm here.
Yeah. Just when you look around the league, you touched on some of the teams, but what kind of do you have your eye on? Obviously, Villanova, Creighton, and now UConn joining in the fold. What are some of the key things that you have your eyes on, and just what's your overall takeaway of the league this season?
Yeah, no, I think our league's going to be good as always. I think, like I said, with the addition of UConn, you love to have them in, but you hate to have to play them. We were able to play them in a tournament last year and beat them, but we knew then. We said, okay, we got a taste for it now, and we knew what to expect. And they've done a great job recruiting. They've got an unbelievable brand. And so I think as a competitor, it's what you want, though. I mean, you want to be able to play against the best. Seton Hall has been on an unbelievable run the last couple of years. Last year had a big time team. Creighton's got it rolling right now. They've got a really good program, a really good style, heck of a coach. So I think as a competitor, it's what you want. If you're a high level kid that's ready to play college basketball, it's what you want. You want to play on the big stage and big lights. You just saw Marquette beat Wisconsin, number 4th ranked Wisconsin the other night at home. And so I think, we definitely have proven it with Villanova doing it twice that, you can win a national championship coming out of the Big East. Xavier's proven it with being one of the number 1 overall seeds in the NCAA tournament that you can be an unbelievable seed coming out of this league. We'll obviously have multiple teams. And so it's a high level competitive top to bottom. I mean, there's no cupcakes. It's a basketball league, and with no football, it's 24/7. I mean, people live for it, and that's what makes it so special.
Does your perspective, I guess, as a staff kind of change at all when you go from maybe playing some mid-majors at home to then entering into league play when not this year with environments, but playing against some of those brand name teams? Does that perspective change at all, or does your coaching staff kind of adjust to just a single game, or is it kind of like first part of the season non-conference and then second part of the season conference? Is there anything that's unique there?
Yeah, I think in a normal season, when you have your normal stretch of 11, 12 non-conference games, you can kind of I guess break it up into your non-conference, your conference, and then you got your postseason. You kind of got your three different seasons in one. I think this year it's unique, whereas we're only going to get teams will get, if you're lucky, 6-7 games until you get right into your conference. So for this year, I think it was more of just let's get the games in as many as we can, and let's just look to continue to build and get momentum so that when you go into league play, with a compacted schedule, you're feeling confident with what you're doing, and just knowing that there's steps to get better, and hopefully your progress is headed in the right direction. So it's a little bit different this year, where you necessarily can't break it up as much into like a non-conference. You just got to say, hey, we got games and we're trying to build and get better. And we know when the conference starts, but we got to work more on, work on ourselves to build to get better, so that when we do hit that Big East gauntlet, we're ready to roll.
So lighter subject a little bit. Your head coach is a big fan favorite in the city. After the big win, he did something pretty unique for a head coach that fans love. He's definitely all about the X, and that was obviously playing the rivalry school. You talk a little bit about the story of what he did, if you don't mind, and then also just what makes Coach so great. Obviously, just showing that side of him, being aware of how important the fans are, appreciating them, appreciating the student body is a big deal. Kind of went viral with how he went about that, but it just shows a lot about who he is. So talk a little bit about your head coach and what makes him unique, and obviously a player's coach and aware of the times and kind of what's important to build the energy and the camaraderie around the program.
Yeah, definitely. And it really started last year when we beat them. We have a local spot that's close to campus that does a good job of supporting Xavier athletics, and so they have a watch party for most of our games. I think all of our games actually, and obviously for the UC game, it's probably a little bit bigger than most. And so last year he started the tradition of he went over there after we won, and I think put $1,000 on the bar tab to kind of help the people there that have supported us all year, help them celebrate a little bit and be part of our success. And I think he just gets it. I think it definitely helps that he's been an assistant here before he became the head coach. So I think I could be wrong, but I think he's been here. This could be year 14. And so we've seen it, and he's seen how the rivalry has always been, and how the fan bases have always been, and he's been able to feel the people's passion and what it means when, Xavier beats UC for the year and the bragging rights and all of that comes with it. Because we are literally, 2 miles away from each other. So you have a lot of families that will combine, half Xavier, half UC. And so he gets it and he understands that, the fan base takes it very, very seriously. And there's a lot of tradition that comes with it. And I think it's a way for him to show his appreciation for everything that our fans do for us. And so for this year, you get the big road win. We get in the locker room, and I think Mario reminded him that he said last year if we win it, he'll double it. So it'll be interesting to see if he doubles it next year and gets that thing to 4. I'm sure his wife will have something to say about that. But no, I just think he gets it and he understands the magnitude, and I think that's why our fan base loves him.
No doubt. Yeah, I think it was 2, so to double it would be 4.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so just end us with a funny story, man. You've been doing this for a long time, or a fun story, something light, something that maybe shed some light to another side of the game or another inside of either this program or your career or something that's happened along the way. I know you got some that you kind of saved for off the air, but if you got anything funny for us that just kind of lets people know the other side of college basketball, that would be great as we close with you.
Yeah. Man, I would say there's, off the top of my head, there's a lot. I got to edit, like you said, edit a couple. But I would say, especially just speaking on with this staff, this has probably been the funnest staff I've been on from top to bottom, just because I think all the guys, there's no ego. And we all ride each other. And if you can't take it, and if you got thin skin, probably not going to work here. So I would say probably our staff group chats are pretty classic. I think any chance we get to make fun of somebody else on staff, it's game on. And I think that it's always, you're always on. Eyes are always watching. So if you fall down in the hallway, or if you stumble on the practice court, or if you mispronounce a guy's name during a scout, or if you mess up on, it could be whatever. You wear the wrong belt that doesn't look right, or the wrong shoes, you're going to hear about it. And it doesn't just stop. I mean, it comes, I'll tell you this, pictures have been the downfall of this staff. So you think nobody saw, and all of a sudden, a manager or GA got it on film or got it in the picture, and that thing gets in the group chat, you don't ever hear the end of it. So I think you're always on guard. But I think, hopefully that trickles down to our team. I think they sense how united we are as a staff, and hopefully that trickles down into our guys' locker room, and we become that cohesive family that I know we're always striving to be.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks so much, Coach, for coming on. Any last words you have, please share, and then good luck the rest of the way. And you'll be winning more, so we'll have you back at some point later. But,
anytime, man. I appreciate it, and I just really like what you guys are doing to help grow the game, and help just whether it's young coaches getting a different perspective, whether it's guys like me. I always like listening and hearing what other guys and other programs say and do. So I just want to thank you guys for taking the time. And like I said, continue to grow the game, and it's another way for all of us to learn through this Zoom and through video, and it's a great resource. So, no, man, I appreciate it. And anytime you want me back, I'm on.
No doubt. Good luck, Coach. Thanks so much, man.